Okay, so this is what we are working on today. This is the technique paper that we are working on, and is wet on wet fundamentals is what we're going to do today. And then you can grab another paper that you can stencil something out, a drawing out. After you're done with the techniques, then you can add these techniques onto your drawn out paper. This one here is the wet surface. So you do it wet onto there, and then you add drops of your glue or another pigment. This is good for clouds. Here you do wet glossy effect with a diluted color, base color. This one I did pink, and then I added the same color but darker pigment there and started adding other pigments in there to bleed into each other while wet. And then this, we did a diluted blue, wet on wet, but not too wet, so it's more of a buttery rather than glossy effect. And then you go ahead and you add your salt and you sprinkle in, which can also create a snowflake effect or an abstract background. Here you can get a diluted color here. You don't want it too glossy. You want it more of a buttery, between buttery and glossy effect. And then once you have it on and you don't have it too slippery, then you can get a rag or a tissue paper and you scrunch it up and you pat it there to lift. So this is a lifting on fresh painted surface. You could use it for highlighting or correcting mistakes. And then you can clean your brush onto the water, dab it really nice on your paper and do lines. Or I use this. I cleaned it really well, have no pigment, really squeeze the water out, and then having a nice crisp line, you pull those lines and you can wet your brush and pull and lift and lift. You can use that for highlighting, for adding details onto your paint. Here is a wet on wet gradient. You wet the whole thing with your flat brush, then you just add your pigment on the top and you use gravity to kind of let it go down. Then you clean your brush and you bring down that water, but very slight water. You don't want it too wet, because then you'll have this going down as it shows here. So you want it nice and a gradual effect with the same pigment. Here we're doing that ombre effect. This is good for background sceneries. So you start on a wet, more buttery effect, and then you bring on one color and then you bring on the other color, clean your brush and tap it onto your paper towel and you blend into that ombre effect. And here you grab a nice wet brush, flat brush preferably, and you grab about 3 to 4 pigments and just make nice strong pigmented colors. And then you clean your brush again and you slightly with the wet brush just press onto that color and bring out that gloss wet effect, and then you use the gravity to bring those pigments down. And you can do the same thing. You just slightly tap onto those pigments that you did and then bring it up like that, and you can use gravity to go like that to bring the pigments back. This is a good abstract fundamental that you could do. And then this, you use nice buttery pigmented colors. You can use 1 color or 2 colors, but this is just to show how it's the effect. And you add those 2 colors, making sure they're nice and pigmented. Then you grab your brush and you make sure they're nice and wet like this, and you can splatter. You could do the splatter effect when it's nice and wet, or you can just go ahead with the same drops and add little tiny drops onto there, which is more like a splatter cauliflower look. And this is what we did, so you can go ahead and practice this at home. And this is, you can incorporate into a lot of your artworks that you could do. And we're going to incorporate it onto this painting, all these techniques into this. So go ahead and try it out at home.